Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you.
Superintendent.
We had no votes in the executive session. There's no public comments on agenda items 6 to 11. Superintendent's report.
As promised, Chairman Marciano and members of the school committee, each month we are going to bring you a facilities program update. And so Mr. McNamee and I are going to provide you with a brief update. This past week, as you know, the Rhode Island Department of Education has asked us to gather input from our teachers in regards to the design of the interior of our schools, the two new schools, McGuire and Stephen Only. So last week, Louis Tirado and his team facilitated 2 days, which consisted of 4 sessions. In the morning, we had preschool through grade 2, teachers in the afternoon, grades 3 through 5, and then we had itinerant teachers in the morning on the Friday, and in the afternoon, all of our special education staff, including our support service providers. And basically what Louis did was went over the initial concept that Frank Locker, our educational consultant, put together 2 years ago with about 50 people from the community, and then looked at that and then had the teachers weigh in on the types of things that they would like to see, things that were non-negotiables, and then things were on their wish list. So from that, Mr. Tirado is putting together a report to give to the Rhode Island Department of Education. And he is also gathering some more information. Actually, this Friday, he wants to meet specifically with preschool and kindergarten because those spaces are unique. And then he also wants to meet with food service because of the design of the kitchen. So that's going to happen this Friday. Yesterday afternoon, Mr. McNamee and I spent about 5 hours at Gilbane Construction, developing a timeline from this period until the schools actually close. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McNamee so that he can give you a little update on that meeting.
So that meeting was 5 hours in duration, and basically we focused in on setting individual timetables for projects that needed to be completed within the 6-month period of time, which includes things like putting out the demo of the buildings out for bid, looking at any hazardous waste issues in the building so that we can include that in the demo specs. There are design plans that the architects have to provide to RIDE. There's a RIDE approval process that has to be done during that period. There are site visits. Melinda and I will be going up to Concord, Mass. to be looking at a school that apparently people from all over the country fly in to look at. And there are 2 elementary schools, I believe, 3 elementary schools. So we're going to be doing this all within the next 6-month period. So from January through, in the month of January, they had a board that went out for the 6-month period, and they put up different stickies as to based on color, as to who was doing what. The school department was blue, and there was a lot of blue in January. So we also have to solidify the financing as to when we're going to be going out for bonds. So I've got to get together with the financial advisors and find out at what time we're going to be going out for bond. If we don't go out for bond, then we're going to wind up having to get bond anticipation notes to fund the project. So there's a lot of things that are happening that we knew were going to start happening. We got to get the building committee back together. And that'll be happening. I think we've got a meeting scheduled for January 26th, which is after the school committee meeting. We're going to be bringing probably the educational plan to the school committee at the January meeting, which RIDE is telling us we need to get completed, basically adding some more meat to our existing plans so that we can then move forward with the design and also getting construction documents and things like that together. So the next 6 months are going to be very busy, and it was a good meeting. A lot of things that I hadn't thought of that we need to address. For example, in just cleaning out these schools. If we don't get rid of some of the junk in these schools, we're going to be paying somebody union wages to take it out of the schools and put it into a dumpster. So we're going to have to start looking at that. We're going to hire somebody who's going to help us with that transition, put a plan together so that we can get these schools up and running, cleaned out, so that come June 27th, which I think is the date we're going to be turning them over to Gilbane for demolition. We're going to have everything out that we need to get out of those schools. We've got to look at the swing space. We've got 2 schools that we've got to get outfitted. So I'm going to submit my resignation tonight. So there's a lot of work, a ton of work that just has to get done. So it was a good meeting, and I'm happy everything's coming together now, but it is going to be a lot of work.
Gina?
I know you said you met with the teachers and you submitted to RIDE. I was just curious why that doesn't come in front of us first. Why aren't we reviewing what the teachers are submitting to you and then to RIDE?
We are. That's going to come before you on the 25th of January.
So RIDE approves it and then we get to see it? Okay, I just want to make sure.
No.
'Cause I just feel, because I didn't even know those meetings were happening. I mean, I saw them on Twitter, which is how I found out about it. But I think it would be nice in our updates if we could see, what the plans were, the agendas, because this is going to be a big, big project, and we're going to get a lot of phone calls from a lot of parents. We already have about questions. So the more we're kept in the loop, I think the better it would be.
Well, Mrs. Picard, I did put those in my updates that we were holding those meetings.
The ones that we're going to specifically to discuss around what teachers wanted in classrooms.
Feedback sessions were.
So again,
I
so
wasn't
then
clear
the
to
clarity,
my-
I think, would be about specifically what you were asking them to do at those meetings. And I don't think I was
Okay.
clear that they were going to be designing classrooms, like what they needed, what they wanted. I think that's going to be a big part of what those schools look like.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Rob.
if I'm not mistaken, that whole piece is because of Mr. De Silva at RIDE. We make up the rules as we go along. So that's why we had to do this. Because
Well,
originally, I don't think we were asking our teachers to design the buildings.
No. I think what he wants us to do is make sure that they weigh in and have feedback on, what is non-negotiable in a classroom. Well, they need a sink, so that's non-negotiable, those kinds of
Input
things.
from teachers, that's all.
And, Mr. Chairman, I think you'll agree that institutional history is huge. And we're lucky we have Mr. McNamee because, John, do you have a chauffeur by any chance? You drive slowly, I hope. So, the institutional history here is huge.
Absolutely.
Going forward, we need it.
Okay.
And the last thing is that Mr. McNamee and I will be going out to meet with the superintendent in Johnston School. We'll be reviewing that lease. That'll come before you on the 25th as well. But the particulars around that lease, and then, we want people to get in there, especially the principal, to take a look at the building. So we're going to try to schedule that tomorrow. So that's about as far up to date as we have the information, and so the committee is very current. Anything else that happens between now and Sunday's update, I'll certainly let you all know.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
This evening, we have before you a whole child resolution, and basically, the school committee has always supported the wraparound services for our students, and basically, this is the tenet of the Health Equity Zone grant. It's just memorialized in a resolution, and so Rosemary Riley Sharmat is here this evening in case anyone has any questions about the resolution, but other school districts are adopting that as support of the whole child.
Anyone have any questions? We need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Made.
Motion by Mr. Cataldi, seconded by Mr. Angiozzi, and the rest of the committee. All those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the financial report as submitted.
Motion? Motion by Mr. Ionetta, seconded by Mr. Angiozzi. Second. All those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it. so
Be it
forth.
resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the home school requests as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Angiosi, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Nay. Mr. Cataldi votes nay. Anyone else? No. All right, next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the field trip requests as submitted.
Second?
Motion by Mrs. Ricard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, we already voted on. Number 6, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the administrative contract extensions as submitted.
Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mr. Palmieri and the entire committee. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the P-TECH coordinator's job description as submitted. And as a reminder, that is a grant-funded position.
We need a motion first.
Made?
We need a motion to get it on the floor.
Motion made?
Okay, Rod De Silva, seconded by Mr. Cataldi. Discussion. All right, Gina.
Now, my only question regarding the P-TECH is I know it's grant funded, so it's about continuing the funding, but with the governor's office being the main push behind P-TECH, what is the projection after the 18 months?
So other districts that have gotten a P-TECH grant actually got a sustained grant to continue the coordinator. They got another $125,000, so it depends obviously on state funding. Mr. Goho and I are looking at through attrition that perhaps we'll be able to absorb that position moving forward after the grant funding goes away. Obviously, the P-TECH program will be in existence, for a long time, so we're hoping to be able to absorb that position. But we are obviously going to apply for those grant funds if they come available.
Mr. De Silva.
His name escapes me, but the innovation officer who works out of Rhode Island College, and I can get his name to you. Perhaps that would be another resource. Now, he was originally hired at the governor's request, but the Rhode Island College Foundation hired him. So he works at RIC, and he's an innovation officer, and I will get you his name and his contact, and I thought that might be something also that would be aligned, even going forward, make some connections or maybe some additional funding.
Okay, the superintendent
Wonderful.
can look into that, right?
I will get her the information, and then they can make the contacts.
All right,
Mr. De Silva.
next item. Oh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the procurement policy amendment as submitted, and Mr. McNamee can bring any clarification to that.
We need a motion to put it on the floor.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cataldi.
Second.
Oh, Andriozzi, and seconded by Mr. De Silva. Okay, discussion. Go ahead, John. Oh, no.
John, is anybody, you want to talk about that, the addition to the procurement policy?
So when we have, the procurement policy as it stands now doesn't address the use of a construction manager, which we have in place. So we've bid that out for the project. So what we're doing is just adding some language to address the contract that we do have for a construction manager. RIDE has recommended that we use a construction manager, and frankly, with a project this size, it's very difficult to manage. Unlike, let's say, when you built the high school back in '95, you didn't have that type of process in place. So we will have that in place as a construction manager. So I just wanted to make sure that the procurement policy just addresses that item as far as a construction manager goes.
Okay, any further questions, anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
We don't have any bids this evening, so be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve any resignations as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mrs. Picard. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Do not have any retirements this evening. The next item is be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the leave of absences as submitted.
By Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mr. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
We do not have any layoffs or non-renewals this evening, but we do have appointments, and they are Joseph Dumfrey, teacher assistant at Centerdale School, effective date 12/19/16. Taylor Rabbit, assistant basketball coach and boys JV coach at the high school, effective date 12/1/16. Maria Fonseca, a teacher assistant at Birchwood, effective date 12/15/16. Deborah Varecchia, teacher assistant at McGuire, effective date December 15th. And Oscar Puente, math teacher at the high school, effective date January 23rd, 17.
We need a motion on the appointments.
Basketball motion
Motion by
made.
Mr. Iannetta, second by Mrs. Picard. Discussion, all those in favor? Ayes have it, so voted.
We
Next
don't
item.
have any layoff rescissions this evening, we don't have any displacements, and we are going to table number 16, the termination. So the next item,
Excuse me, Melinda, I think we need a motion to table number 16.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Cataldi. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to table passes. Number 17.
And so, number 17, Mr. Hennius, we are going to hold that in abeyance. Okay, so we're going to hold that grievance in an abeyance for 30-day period. And then the next item is, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to deny the local 1033 grievance as submitted.
We need a motion to deny.
So moved?
Motion by Mr. De Silva, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Motion denied. Next is the approval of bills, I guess.
And the next is the use of property, which we don't have any of. And the next, you're right, is the approval of bills. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the list of bills as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Palmieri. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Approval of minutes, Gina Picard.
I make a motion to approve and seal the executive session minutes for November 16th, pursuant and applicable to provisions of Rhode Island General Law 42-46-4 and 5.
A motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mr. Cataldi. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
And I make a motion to approve the executive and open session minutes on November 16th and the special meeting on November 21st.
Motion by Mr. Palmieri. Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by the entire committee. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is it not? That's it. And at 8:20. I wish to, hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas.